Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. Presented by First Community. We are live in Dallas. Man, I don't know what's going on in the weather all of a sudden in Dallas. It goes from 60 degrees. Now it's going to be cold today. They're expecting freezing rain and snow. And here in Texas, that gets everyone's attention. So who knows what that's going to look like now moving forward. And hopefully we can get out of town tonight. LA is going to be in St. Louis. I think they're expected to arrive around 3 o'clock this afternoon. So they'll be in St. Louis. They'll be ready for the Blues and the Kings tomorrow night as the Blues have back-to-back games starting tonight in Dallas. Third game of a 3-game road trip hasn't gone exactly as planned. They got beat down in Edmonton. That was just an incredible performance by Connor McDavid and company. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins plays his 1,000th game. Just a great atmosphere there in Edmonton, and then the Blues go to Winnipeg and just couldn't find a way to score a goal. I mean, they got one goal, but they couldn't get the second goal. It was good to see Jordan Kyrou finally get off the schneid. It had been 14 games since he had last scored. Just his second power play goal of the season, which is crazy. Dalibor Dvorsky leads the Blues in power play goals with 4. Just absolutely insane that the Blues haven't been able to get that going. Lots to get into. And the Blues have a morning skate today. It's going to be a pretty simple show. Jamal Mayers is going to join me. We don't have a guest coming on today just because of time reasons. It's just too difficult to schedule everything. You've got time zone changes and all that type of stuff. So we'll pick things back up on a more normal basis. Next week, we'll be in studio and continue to bring you great coverage on Hockey Says presented by First Community. It's time to bundle up for the winter with First Community. This time of year, listen, it reminds us that comfort comes from being prepared. You want to make sure that you're prepared. Blankets, food in the pantry, knowing your family is protected. You want to make sure your family is protected. And this is where it comes in handy with First Community. Bundle your insurance. Bring your coverage together. You can enjoy extra savings, simplified protection, stronger coverage, all of that bundled together. How nice is that? Designed to fit your life seamlessly. So check out the First Community Insurance Agency for more information or a no obligation quote. Big weekend of youth hockey in St. Louis as well. We've got a showcase. And some of the teams had to cancel because they couldn't get into St. Louis, or they were worried about getting out of St. Louis. They were driving in from Nashville. That's not going to happen. We've got the Junior Kings coming into town. We've got a couple teams from Chicago. The Reapers, the Fury are coming into town. So it should be a good one. Next week, Dallas actually comes to St. Louis. So youth hockey, obviously, in full swing, although we're almost wrapping things up before too long. We're going to be into the spring season, and the season's going to be over for youth hockey players across North America. I want to start with the Steve Ott news here on this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community, because, listen, Otter's been one of my favorite people for a long, long time. I think it's a great opportunity, great situation for him. I know I was getting text messages and people being like, wow, is he being demoted and whatnot? Listen, there's so many different ways to look at it. I certainly wouldn't look at it as him being demoted. I mean, the reality is what it is. If you want to be a head coach in the National Hockey League, then you need to go get head coaching experience. I mean, very few guys can just walk directly from being a player onto an NHL bench as an assistant coach and eventually become a head coach. Now, there are other Marty St. Louis and some of these guys that bypass coaching experience, although he was coaching at the youth level. I'm not going to count that. I'm talking about significant experience coaching, whether at the major, junior level, or the professional level. You got to have it. And I think that's what it comes down to for the St. Louis Blues, and specifically with Steve Ott. I think you look at the way the season has gone. The power play hasn't been very good. I know he runs the power play, and I looked it up a couple of days ago. I mean, listen, a few years back, the power play was second best in the NHL. They had a season where they were just outside of the top 5. They were 6th best. But for the most part, over the course of the last few years, I know last year they got hot in the second half of the season. Just like every area trended north for the Blues following the Four Nations tournament, the power play included. And they ended up finishing with the 16th best power play. But prior to that, they were in the 20s. This year, they're in the 20s, and it just hasn't been good enough. So the reality is, I think the conversation all of a sudden gets real when you say, hey, listen, if you want to be a head coach, you're probably not getting any closer to becoming a head coach by being an assistant on the St. Louis Blues bench. And it's time to get that clock ticking. And my guess is that Steve Ott's going to be behind the bench as the head coach with the Springfield Thunderbirds beginning next season. He gets a head start, 20 games to finish out and close out the year. They haven't had a great year down there. Now, there's always underlying circumstances when an American League team isn't performing at its best. And when you lose good players because they get called up, obviously some injuries and whatever else that may take place, there's underlying factors and circumstances that contribute towards how your season is going in the American League. And listen, you lose Colton Ellis to waivers at the beginning of the season. That didn't help. Would have been nice to have him down there and eventually get up here to the National Hockey League, but it is what it is. So the Blues just haven't had a great season in the NHL, and they haven't had a great season in the NHL or in the American Hockey League. And I like Steve Konowalchuk a lot. He's been a good guy. He's been on this show. Love talking hockey with him. Love touching base with him. Kind of catching up, seeing how things are going down in the American Hockey League. And now we can do that with Steve Ott and get a real feel for how some of these prospects are coming along. And there are some good prospects down there. You've got the Stancil kid, Pekarsik, who's a guy who's going to play sooner than later. Who knows how quickly he can get to the National Hockey League. You've got the Theo Lindstein. But I know Dvorsky and obviously Otto Stenberg being up here in the NHL right now. Snuggerud being up here in the NHL right now. I look at Jimmy Snuggerud and, listen, he's getting a lot of shot attempts, and I know we celebrate the shot attempts, and it's always great when you're getting pucks to the net. And, he is a shooter. And if he's not getting shot attempts or not getting shots on goal, that would be a concern for a guy like Jimmy Snuggerud. You'd love to see the goal production increase a little bit. He's had opportunities. It's not like he's been playing on a third or fourth line role this season. This guy has pretty much been in a top 6 situation all season long. And you'd love to see him, start scoring a little bit more. And eventually that's going to come. In a perfect world, I think if you had to do it all over again, listen, I don't think anybody was complaining about Snuggerud coming directly to the NHL this season. I think he showed that he could play in the NHL based on the way that he finished the season last year. Came to the NHL after his college career ended at the University of Minnesota. He finished the last final 5 games of the season in the NHL and then played all 7 games in the playoffs. And he certainly looked like a guy that belonged in the NHL. And it's not like he doesn't look like he belongs now. But there's just something to be said for guys who play in the American League. I think you can get that necessary experience. Leon Draisaitl played in the American League. A lot of guys played in the American League. And, they decided to fast track him because I think they thought the overall experience here in St. Louis was going to be a little bit different. The team was going to perform better. They were going to be in the hunt. And obviously this hasn't gone as planned. But you'd like to see Snuggerud really get going, and hopefully he can get hot and start scoring some goals. Dvorsky, same thing. Dvorsky's on the power play, and for whatever reason, I'd love to see the play rotate to his side of the ice at least a couple of times. I mean, there are situations, and I know he's on the ice, and Justin Falk a lot of times is quarterback in the power play. He's a right-hand shot. Maybe it's more natural for Falk to go to the other side of the ice using his forehand compared to where Dvorsky is lined up. But I'd love to see Dvorsky get some chances to really tee off his one-timer. He leads the team in power play goals. When's the last time we saw him take a one-timer on the power play? I mean, it has been a while since he's gotten the puck in that situation. And if you read his body language a little bit, he doesn't really show it. But there was a time a couple of games ago where I think he just had a little bit of a frustrated look on his face that he wasn't getting the puck on the power play, that the puck wasn't swinging to his side of the ice, whether it's a pass from coming from up top, a seam pass from the other side of the ice. We're just not seeing that with Dvorsky, and hopefully they can get him some opportunities to shoot the puck on the power play because he can be a dangerous shooter. I actually think he has a better one-timer than Jimmy Snuggerud. He's able to get, some elevation on the puck. He's able to get it up underneath the bar a little bit quicker. I think it rises and gets up on the goaltender a little bit faster. Snuggerud's got a very whippy stick. Maybe it's a little more difficult for him to control his shot. And on the one-timer specifically, to really elevate the puck and get the puck up high, which is what you need to do. I mean, goaltenders in the NHL that read the play so well, they anticipate so well that they typically can get over. And the only place to beat them is if you elevate the puck. If you keep the puck down low or it's flat on the ice, more often than not, the goaltender is going to be able to get over and make that save. I think it's a little more difficult if you're able to get the puck up. So, those are just little things, whatever. I mean, who am I to say? Listen, it is what it is. But both those kids obviously have a great future, and we'll see what happens with that. Just like Kyrou on the one-timer. I hadn't seen him hit a puck like that on a one-timer in quite a while. So that was a positive. Jim Montgomery's been saying all along that if Kyrou can get one, watch, he'll end up getting hot and scoring 10 goals in 12 games or whatever it is. So this would be a perfect time for Kyrou to get hot. We'll see if that can actually happen and if he does get hot. Otherwise, his streak of 30-goal seasons looks like it's in serious, serious jeopardy. So that's where we're at right now with all of that. A lot of trade rumors, a lot of speculation going on. I know Braden Schen's name's being mentioned, and now Vegas is kind of in play. And Vegas has always been the spot that I felt like if Schenn were to waive his limited no trade, I don't think he's got a full no trade like he did a year ago, but I do think that the respect factor will come into play between he and management. I don't think they would ever send him to a place he didn't want to go to, or if he didn't want to be traded, I think they would certainly have a long conversation with him and maybe not force him into doing something or accepting a trade if he doesn't want to leave. He just had a baby and whatnot, so we'll see how that plays out. Vegas has always made the most sense to me, especially now with William Karlsson being hurt. I think Sissons is hurt. They got some guys who are, banged up at the center position. And, I always look for try to connect the dots. Where are the relationships in the National Hockey League? And, he and Kelly McCrimmon have a long-standing relationship going back to when Braden was playing in the Western Hockey League. Just a few weeks ago when Vegas was in town, Kelly McCrimmon outside the Blues dressing room, he and Braden Schenn were having a long conversation, as they typically do. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Kelly McCrimmon waiting outside the Blues dressing room for Braden Schenn to come out. So they obviously have a great relationship, and they have had one for a long time. Typically, you want to bring guys in who you have a past relationship with. Vegas can only bring in so many Mitch Marners, so many Thomas Hurdles, so many Noah Hannafins, so many Rasmus Andersons. There's only so much room for superstars and elite players. Maybe Schenn would be a good fit to be a depth guy in Vegas. But listen, we're not there yet, I don't think, with him. And listen, other rumors are going to continue to swirl, and we'll see what happens. The Jordan Binnington one is going to be interesting just because it's because of the play of Joel Hofer. Listen, hear me out when I say this. Joel Hofer is going to be an absolute superstar. I think he has a chance to truly be in that Vezina conversation once he is handed the ball and he just rolls with it and he takes off and he's the guy. I think he has that type of potential, that level of game, that level of talent. He's shown it this season. And he's the reason why I always said, hey, the Blues have the best tandem in the league coming into the season, and they just haven't performed up to the level that you had hoped, specifically with Jordan Binnington, been a little bit up and down. Hofer didn't get off to a great start. The Blues are last in the league in goals for. They're near the bottom in goals against. Their save percentage, I think, as a team, worst in the National Hockey League. So what is the trade market for a guy like Jordan Binnington? I think it's a fair question. We can get into Jamal Mayers with that. But I look at, is it a risk to bring on Jordan Binnington? It's not a risk if he's able to build his game and get it to where he wants it to be between now and the Olympics. And then he goes to the Olympics and performs well. If he comes back to the Olympics and he has a great Olympics or even a very good Olympics, then I think that's enough for teams to say, yeah, I want this guy with a winning track record, a Stanley Cup resume, who's, got that ability to just flip the switch and play at a high level and can really lock in. Otherwise, if Binnington goes to the Olympics and he doesn't perform well and he doesn't have a good showing at the Olympics, then I think teams can look at it as a little more of a high risk, a riskier play to make that move with another year left on his contract. You know what you're getting. You're getting a great goaltender. But if his confidence isn't there, or if he's not playing at a high level, he's not playing good hockey, and you're a Stanley Cup contender, you don't need to go out and get a $6 million goaltender who's not really in the proper mindset, or his game isn't at the level where you need it to be. You can't just get through with average goaltending. So if you're looking to move him, you're looking to acquire assets, you really need Jordan Binnington to really get going and get moving in the right direction. And listen, it's not all his fault. I don't think Jordan Binnington has played nearly as bad as people may think he has, or may look at the numbers and say, wow, this is a reflection of truly his level of play. I don't think he's had a lot of help. And for whatever reason, listen, our coaches can never understand it. They can never answer the question why a team performs better with one guy in net versus the other guy. I mean, the roles were reversed before. When Binnington was in net, they always played at a higher level. That's what happened with he and Jake Allen years ago. But for now, whatever reason, Joel Hofer's given this team a lot of confidence. You just wonder when that transition happens and he starts getting 2 out of every 3 starts or 3 out of every 4 starts. This one's a little bit different, a little trickier because of the back-to-back. So Binnington's either going to start tonight in Dallas. The plan was coming into the road trip was for Binnington to start tonight in Dallas, Hofer to start at home tomorrow night against the Kings. That was the plan coming into the road trip. Now, whether that changes remains to be seen, but that was the initial plan, and we'll see if the Blues stick to it. Regardless, either way, both guys are going to play over the weekend. And I never worry about Jordan Binnington. I always feel like this guy is going to have a great game. Every time I see him play, every time a game starts, I always just assume that Jordan Binnington is going to have a great game. That's just the way I feel, the way I kind of look at it. So anyway, that's where we're at right now. Jim Montgomery takes over the power play. Still has a hand in the PK. Mikey Weber, obviously, is a guy who's handling the PK. And, listen, I think you just got to get through the season. Hopefully the Blues can get hot. You never know, man. I mean, anything's possible. I don't think anybody gave this team a chance last year. So maybe we see a repeat and they come back from the Olympics and they just turn it on. Because the Blues are better than what they've shown this season. I truly believe that. I don't think on paper they're a bad team, and there's no reason to assume that they can't get back into contention. Is there enough runway left for them to truly get back into the playoffs? I don't know if you can absolutely say that. It's going to be a challenge. We all know it's going to be tough. And then we'll see what the offseason brings and what it means for coaches and players and all of that, moving forward. So a lot of injuries right now with the Olympics, man. Guys are going down left and right. Sweden is taking the biggest hit. Leo Carlsson is out. Erik Karlsson is even hurt, but I think they expect him to be back for the playoffs. Brodin is going to be out for the Olympics. That's a tough one. He's the one defenseman for Sweden that plays kind of that in-your-face physical style that, you typically see with Canada and with USA. Czechia is going to be a tough team to deal with, obviously. But everybody's dealing with injuries. Seth Jones is out now for Team USA. Jackson Lacombe gets the call for Team USA. I want to say this real quick because I talked to some people with management with USA Hockey at the highest level, okay, without naming names. And everyone knew that when they named Jackson Lacombe, that this was going to be a storyline not because of him going to the Olympics, but because of who wasn't selected to go to the Olympics, whether it's Adam Fox, whether it's Lane Hudson getting the majority of the attention right now. Some people think he should be in the Norris conversation this year. And listen, Lane Hudson's going to be a part of the Olympics moving forward. Probably will play on the World Cup team 2 years from now. We're going to see Jason Robertson, who's a forward. We're going to see him tonight for Dallas. I mean, this guy obviously has more than a case to be made for him to make the team, and he was left off. So it's difficult. But talking to people with USA Hockey, Jackson Lacombe, if you've heard me mention his name several times. They really liked Lacombe. They thought really hard. He almost made the team to begin with. But they were saying internally, kind of what I'm saying right now, hey, listen, this guy's going to be part of it the next go-around, whenever they have their next tournament, 2 years from now in the World Cup of Hockey, Four Nations, whatever they're going to call it at the time. He's going to be a part of things. And same with, Cutter Gauthier, who's not on the team, and a couple of other guys. We'll see if Caulfield can find his way into it. Lane Hudson can find his way into it. I don't know. People bring up his dad, the comments that he made. Does that hurt him? Probably didn't help, but I don't know if that's the exact reason. But I will say this is what USA Hockey is saying, is just the fact that, Lacombe brings a little more versatility to his game. He can kill penalties. He can play the power play. He's bigger. He's an unbelievable skater. As much as Hudson is an incredible skater and gets a lot of attention because of his edge work and his incredible skating, Lacombe is an incredible skater as well. And he's bigger. He brings more size. And the Team USA already has Quinn Hughes, right? So they just didn't feel like they needed to add another undersized defenseman. Now, if Hughes were to go down, maybe that would be a little bit of a different story, and maybe Hudson gets the call there. But a lot of people up in arms and really just kind of going crazy about it. So that's where we're at. Let's bring in Jamal Mayers here on the other side. Looking forward to my conversation with Jammer coming up. We're in Dallas. It's the Blues and the Stars tonight. The Kings get into town this afternoon, and it's the Blues and the LA Kings tomorrow. The Kings, it's a big win for them, man. They're trying to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, so they need points in the worst way. First Community brings us hockey sense each and every week. Stop by a First Community branch today and set yourself up to see all the different options they have for your banking with First Community. Blue Note Roofing, baby. Call David Novak today, 314-920-5713 for Blue Note Roofing. Check it out. They got all the options for you. Roofing, siding, gutters, soffit, fascia, whatever it is. He'll talk pucks with you also. 314-920-5713. Get that free estimate. They deal with all the major insurance companies as well. So again, take advantage of that. Have the insurance companies pay for it. You know, some insurance companies won't pay for it after your roof is 10 years of age or older. So if you have a roof right now that's 8 years old or 9 years old, get on it right now so you can get a new roof and still have your insurance company pay for it. Again, Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713, baby. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Check it out. Don't sleep on their party goods, their party supplies. You got Valentine's Day parties coming up, St. Patrick's Day parties. St. Patrick's Day is not that far around the corner either, just a couple of months away. Get everything you need. Paper supplies, decorations, everything from Dirt Cheap. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Best selection of beer, wine, and booze you'll find anywhere. You can download their app. They got so many incredible deals on their app that they call them steals. That's how good the deals are over there at Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. And if you live within 10 miles of any location, any Dirt Cheap location, you use the promo code BLUES and you're going to get free deliveries. How nice is that? Use the promo code BLUES, you get free delivery, download the app, and that's where you get incredible savings and incredible deals with our friends over there. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. The Wallace family just flat out getting it done. Nobody does it better than the Wallace family, Jason Wallace and everybody over there. Supporting hockey and supporting sports and making our life easier with one Dirt Cheap at a time. Lordo's Diamonds, Mike and Jimmy Lordo, get the special someone something special in your life and do it today. Best customer service. Are you looking to pop the question for Valentine's Day? Hey, listen, it's always a popular time of year to pop the question and get engaged. You can do that with our friends over there at Lordo's Diamonds, Mike and Jimmy Lordo, Pat. Anybody will help you. You walk in there with a $100 budget or a $100,000 budget. You're going to get treated exactly the same. Right there in the heart of Ladue, 314-432-8008. LordosDiamonds.com. 314-432-8008. All right, let's step aside. Jamal Mayers, he joins me next. Looking forward to it. Lots to get into with Jammer here on Hockey Sense, presented by First Community. I'm in Dallas, back in studio next week. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's bring in Jammer. You're in studio.
Oh, I own you now.
You should be interviewing me.
I'm in your seat. This is it. I'm moving on.
That's what I told Cam on Monday. I said, you interview me.
How'd that go?
Because like when he's been out, it's only happened one or two times where I was actually in studio. I told him he was my guest. So
oh, that's great.
So I just ran the show. Welcome back to St. Louis, by the way. This is Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. You were in Chicago, great event. I saw Chris Versteeg and a bunch of people over there. Obviously, Dustin Bufflin was there, who's now in Winnipeg. This guy's making the tour. He's going to all these different events after you didn't see him for years and years and years. What's the best part of that, Jamal? When all you guys are getting back together to celebrate Jonathan Toews, and obviously the Stanley Cups is why you were there, to celebrate those.
Honestly, it's really just about seeing everyone, catching up with how they are with their life and their kids, and realizing like how much time has passed, and it doesn't, it never feels like a long time, and then you realize, holy cow, I've got a daughter who's a sophomore in college, 20 years old, and When we were there in Chicago, she was 8. So,
Oh,
a lot of things have changed. Some guys have gotten rounder. Some guys stayed thin. So that's always fun to see where you fit on that paradigm as well.
all right. So, what would be your advice to these guys who are playing right now? Because it just goes so quickly. I mean, I'm seeing all the names. I mean, it just seems like yesterday these guys were all stars in the National Hockey League, and you don't forget about them. But eh, and I want to talk to you about this because I've talked to different players about this in the past. That feeling of isolation that a lot of guys get when they retire and they stop playing, and all of a sudden you're just by yourself. And I see it like being on the road, Jamal, and how your entire day in your life is mapped out for you when you're a player. I mean, you're being told when to get on the bus. There's food waiting for you when you get off the bus. Then you go back on the bus, and then there's food, and then there's food again, and food again. You go to the rink. It's like all of a sudden, it's got to be such a shock when you stop playing, and all of a sudden you're no longer living that lifestyle.
It is. I think I had trouble for probably the first year and a half. Quite honestly, I think that all those things that you mentioned, your schedule's all mapped out. That's probably the biggest change lifestyle wise. And I remember just quickly on this is that, when I first retired, I went to go take a nap, and my wife Natalie's like, "Oh no, those are done. There's no more naps. Like, there's no reason for a nap." And then I was like, "Yeah, I guess she's right. There's no really reason to have a nap anymore." So the naps went away, and then you kind of have to create a new routine because it isn't mapped out for you anymore. And so I found that really tough the first year and a half. And fortunately, I was lucky during the final. I ended up, talking to Jamie McLennan, who at that time was doing stuff with NHL Network and TSN and such. And he suggested I meet with people at NHL Network, which I did. So I kind of fell into that really quickly. I remember back then it was myself and Jeff O'Neill audition in the summer, and I started doing that right away. So for me, it was nice to have something quickly right away to go into. That would be my biggest suggestion. What I would suggest for guys when they're done is go into something. It doesn't have to mean you're doing it for the rest of your life. I happen to continue to do this because I enjoy it, but you might realize you don't like it and then transition into player development. And then you might transition and do something else. It might take you 3 to 4 years to find what you really enjoy. But what I don't think is a good idea is if you completely don't do anything, unless you're a star player. If you do that, it's very difficult to get back in. So my suggestion is start to foster those connections and those relationships into your 30s because the timeline is ending. And I remember having conversations on the plane and at dinners and things like that with a young Luke Shannon, just getting him to understand how quickly it goes. And, we catch up and talk, and he's still playing, and he has done an unbelievable job of, dabbling in business ideas and investing in different things and finding out what he's interested outside of hockey so that when that time comes, he's going to have an easy transition, in my opinion. Whether he stays in the game or not, I think he's a great example. And you can talk to his brother about this, that I'm sure he's done the same thing to set themselves up for something next.
Yeah. And listen, I know how tight that, the Blues players are who were on that 2019 team and how their relationship continues. And, they always talk about how they, when you're playing together, you're on a championship team, you divide the pain, but then you share the joy, right? You share the moments together, the positives, and you're all in it together with the negatives too. Like the pain is divided up, but then you share that joy. So when you're with these guys after not seeing them for all these years, I mean, do you get a sense of that team connection that just never really goes away?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I think that, you know, everyone values it's funny, like I never got to play in the final. So,
Mm.
but I never got that feeling. Like they still made me feel like you're a massive part of this group. And I'm sure every winning team is the same. And I think that that's how winning teams get there, right? Like the reality is, and you'll know the players better than I would for the 2019 teams. I could tell you who they were for our 2013 team. But the reality is, it's a 2-month journey in the playoffs. And the reality is, there's guys that are out of the lineup to start the first round that somehow made an impact in the third round or the final that you never expected. And the only way to do that is that you have great leadership that makes sure those guys are continuing to work through 8 weeks of not playing so that when they potentially get their opportunity, they're ready for it. And because everybody sees that and knows that, there's value in the entire group, and there's respect from the entire group that everyone had value in how we got to that, final point where we won.
Yeah, it's interesting because a guy like Robert Bertuzzo, he didn't play in Game 7, but I know, like, hearing other teammates talk, how important he was to, getting there and just building towards winning a Stanley Cup. You don't just do it in that season. When you have a group of players that have been together for several years, it starts before that. So who made you feel like you were a part of it? Who really went out of their way to make you feel that way?
Oh, everybody, Dunks, Taser. Like, I took every warm up because I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure. I know you'll find this hard to believe because I was pretty tight wound in the beginning of my career. But once you get to 37, 38, you realize where you can help bring some jokes and make it lighthearted and have fun with it and appreciate it. So I took every warm up the entire playoffs, and I sat beside Johnny. And so, he always made me feel a part of it and joking around, getting him ready. He was pretty dialed in most times. So putting some levity on it, making him, helping him, like, in my opinion, enjoy it and joke around and feel, like, so that he can go out and do his thing was kind of like what I was trying to bring to the table. And I think that, there was all kinds of guys that even now when I say, hey, I see Dunks and Sharpie and, like, they'll I text them congratulations on all different things that they're getting accomplishments for. Right away in that text is, oh man, you're an awesome leader. Thanks for everything. We won we'll be champions forever. Like, there's always a comment like that. And it's just, it makes you feel good. It makes you realize, like, that we'll have that bond forever.
How much time were you guys able to spend with Jonathan Toews? I know he had to play the game and talk about the reception he got from the fans and what that was like just to see that in person.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was there for the ceremony for the Cup teams on Saturday. Then Sunday, I had to jettison to Florida to do the games for the Sharks, and they're playing the Panthers, and then the next night the Lightning. So there was like 5 or 6 guys that stayed. I wish I was able to do that, but I did text with Johnny back and forth, and it was really really special for him. I think that he was expecting, obviously, a reception, expecting, the fans. I don't think he was expecting as much love as he got. And I think that what I'm happy for is that I think there was an empty, raw feeling of the way that it ended for him. And very few players are able to actually close the book properly. And I think that it gave the fans an opportunity to close the book properly with Johnny. It gave Johnny that feeling of appreciation for what he did accomplish for the city and for the Blackhawks. And I think that it was a perfect ending for him that I think maybe 2 years ago he probably thought he was never going to get, and the fans thought they were never going to be able to appreciate him in that way.
Are you glad that he's come back and played? I mean, he's obviously a shell of who he once was. I mean, he's been scoring some goals as of late, and it's not like he can't play, but he's not the Jonathan Toews that we remember. Do you feel like I mean, I guess it's up to him, right? He's got to make that decision. But how do you make of it, of him coming back? I mean, he's such a great player for so long, and to see him come back and really not be the same guy on a team that may not make the playoffs. I'm just curious your opinion on that.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. My wish is that they would have gotten, like, they put him in a place he wasn't, in my opinion, they shouldn't have been in the 2-hole, like, right off the bat. I think that he was probably playing too much to start the season. I think it's realistic to think that it would have taken him till January to find his footing after being off for 3 years. I think him in that 3-hole is probably the best suited. I think that makes it difficult because do you put Nemesnikov there? Was Lowry a 2? Like, they don't really have a 2. And so it kind of forced him in that spot. I don't think he should have been there. I think that affected his confidence in his season. I think he is an unbelievable 3 or 4 even on a winning team and can still bring a tremendous amount of value because he plays the game the right way, can kill penalties, can play more of a 3, defensive type of forward role. But he will the other part's the disappointing is that they're not going to make the playoffs, because if they were, that's where he's going to show his value, right? Those leadership
Yeah.
qualities and the stepping up and scoring big goals. No one will remember that he only had 12 goals in the season or whatever he may end up with if he scores big goals in the playoffs. I just wish he was able to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And it's just crazy the fact that they can win the President's Trophy last year and then all of a sudden be out of the playoffs now.
That's not.
And all these teams that are in the playoff picture that were not in the playoff picture from a year ago, I think it's like 8 teams or something like that. I didn't mention it in the previous segment, but Dylan Holloway, he was out for 5 weeks, came back a little bit early in terms of the timetable, but obviously felt good enough to play. And didn't play in the next game against Winnipeg, didn't practice yesterday. So he obviously has suffered, a little bit of a setback with that high ankle sprain. You ever have a high ankle? Because Pius Suter is now here, came here yesterday, and I think he's practiced yesterday. So we'll find out later this morning if he plays tonight against Dallas. I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing. The fact that he joined the team this late in the road trip, he might as well just stay home if he wasn't going to play. But I'm just curious, you ever had an injury like that? And how difficult is it to come back from it?
Fortunately, I never did, but my roommate did, Craig Conroy. And when you're a roommate with someone, you kind of see what it's really like. Like if you weren't roommates and you had a teammate that had a high ankle sprain, you'd be like, "Oh, what's the big deal?"
Yeah.
What I've come to understand from watching him go through it is that it is normal to have those types of setbacks, because you could feel completely normal, completely fine, and all it takes is a little tweak, and you can re-stretch and re-injure that tendon on the outside. And it's probably one of the worst things. You'd almost rather break it in some instances than have the high ankle sprain. And it's hard to explain it to people, but skating, your foot is so locked in, and you notice probably that hockey players don't have calves. And the reason is that you don't really get the extensor using your foot. It's kind of locked in. And so we're not really well protected, in my opinion, in regard to, because we're always in the opposite of a flexion position when we're skating. And so any kind of tweak of that, catching an edge, is going to send that reverberating pain up the leg. So, I don't envy him. I think that it's one of those injuries where you have to leave some grace. What I mean by that is, it's not like he came back early when he had a sore arm or sore shoulder and probably should have waited a few more games or another week or two. He probably felt unbelievable, and all it took was one little tweak, and now it set it back for another week or two. So it's unfortunate. Just that is the nature of that injury, and it's one of the worst things I've seen, because you feel great. Every other injury, you break something, it heals, you get the motion back, you get the strength back, you're good. This is different. This is like you could continue to tweak it, and it could continue to bother you until you get proper time and rest in the off season. If you're playing through it, it could take you the whole year.
Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully that's not the case for Dylan Holloway. But again, he's not going to play tonight. Didn't practice yesterday, and obviously dealing with a little bit of a setback with that high ankle sprain. Hey, listen, your thoughts on Steve Ott going down to the American League now to become head coach of Springfield?
Yeah, I don't know the dynamics of what's gone on here. I know he's been an extremely valuable asset to the coaching staff for many years and gone through, a few different coaches, head coaches, that is. But this isn't my knowledge. I haven't talked to him about it, but I had heard that he was in the running for some head coaching positions around the league in the off season. And I think probably the argument or the response that he's gotten back is that you need that head coaching experience, which I don't necessarily subscribe to, in the sense that he's been around a long time. Like, I think my opinion is this: when a guy has played as long as he did, 15 years or however many, and then you're an assistant coach for 10 more years, does he really need to go to the minors to be a head coach? He knows how it works. He knows how it operates. He's been thinking about this probably for 5 years, about how he would do this and how he would talk to the team, and probably has a training camp plan, what he would do differently. He's probably created a journal and a log on how he would change and do things and steal from head coaches he's really enjoyed working with. But I think that the business has probably told him, you need to go do this. That's my assumption. And I think that good on him. It's not easy to take a step backwards or step sideways. But now he gets an opportunity to be the head guy and put his stamp on this group. And I know he's still a valuable member of the organization, and I know that Doug thinks so highly of him, and I'm sure Steiner does too. I think that it's unfortunate because I think he's a great coach, and I'm not sure the dynamics if he was running the power play and the power play was struggling, or who knows. All those things do come into account when things don't go well, right? And so you've seen it in Toronto when they replaced
Mark Savard.
they replaced Savard, and there was some shuffling there. It's just those are things that do happen, and it's the coaching business is an unkind business. So it's I hope he ends up I hope he's where he wants to be, and I hope he gets what he wants because I think he's a good hockey person.
I've had a lot of conversation with Steve Ott about this, including just within the last few days prior to this announcement being made, which is just really interesting because he's had head coaching offers at the American League level that he's turned down. I think when you get the taste of being in the NHL, it's hard, right, to make that decision. But I think this one's a little easier to make because he's so familiar with everybody around him, right? He's still in the organization with the St. Louis Blues. Alexander Steen taking over, somebody he's known for a long time. He's got a great relationship with him. And who knows, this may potentially set him up to become a head coach here down the road. Jim Montgomery may be the head coach here for the next 10 to 15 years. Who knows how long, that'll last. But just going based on what we see the trends are around the National Hockey League, you just don't see that happen very often. And so I'm sure those communications and those conversations have taken place between he and Doug Armstrong. He and Doug Armstrong go way back, Jamal, as you know, and they have a very, very close relationship. So I'm sure there's an understanding in terms of why this is the right time, and he's got the full support of the organization. I think it's a great opportunity for him to go and do it. I think you're right. I think when you do play for a long time and then you're an assistant coach for a long time, listen, the game. It's like Marty St. Louis. He's a Hall of Fame guy, right? He had never coached, goes right into the NHL. These guys know the game. I get it, but I think there is something to be said for being a head coach. Like when you finally get that head coaching experience, I think even Steve Ott will tell you after becoming a head coach down in the American League, he may even say, yeah, you know what? Listen, there's experience that I just got in the final 20 games of the season that I didn't think was that important or that I didn't think that I would get, but he'll be a better coach just based on these last 20 games. And I would assume he'll be there next year to start the season as well. So we'll see how that plays out moving forward down the road. I want to get your take on Robert Thomas. Listen, a lot of people are throwing his name out there. And listen, I look at the Blues roster and they need centers, Jamal, right? Yep. That's what they're really lacking right now. They don't have a whole lot of dynamic play up the middle at the center position. They've got some good centers. Dvorsky has a chance to become a real good center. Pius Suter has done a good job. Braden Shen, obviously, we know what he brings to the table. But in terms of dynamic play in comparison to what you see throughout the league, it's probably a little bit lacking in that department. So the idea of moving your most talented center, I don't know if that makes sense. We never know who would come the other way. That would have to be a significant trade. I don't know if the Blues are just looking to move guys and just get draft picks and prospects. I think they'd like to get some NHL players here that can really improve the roster. But I'm just curious how you look at the whole Robert Thomas situation and the fact that his name is all of a sudden circulating through the rumor mill once again, which I don't always subscribe to, Jamal, because all these people that are throwing his name out, I can guarantee you one thing. They're not talking to Doug Armstrong and they're not talking to Alexander Steen, but his name is out there.
Yeah, I think when that happens, like a player of his ilk is, like, I consider him a top 10 centerman, top 15 centerman in the entire league. The reality is, like, people want him. So because people want him, what happens is these pundits throw his name out there because they want to start putting the name out there with the hopes that maybe he becomes available. I think that if they look to retool things, which I'm assuming they're going to try to do at the deadline, and what you're going to realize, in my opinion, is that the salary cap going up is going to allow you a lot more flexibility to make hockey trades because you can take on more salary and you don't have to trade dollar for dollar as you used to have to do before this, increase. And so when you factor that in, for me, I think what you're more likely to see is, like, you're going to see, okay, they're going to decide these three guys, and I would put Robert Thomas in that bucket we're not trading these guys. Like these 3 guys were key. We're not trading because you can't trade everybody. And do they need to retool and things? I think Robert Thomas is that guy that you would be kicking yourself in 2 years if you did move on from him, because you're going to try to find a way to replace him. And those guys don't grow on trees. And so I don't think that they're going to move him. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think, like I said, I think there's probably only 2 or 3 guys that are in that category. And I think that changing the complexion of almost everybody else in the roster, and those are tough decisions to make, and that includes the guys that are current leadership in the leadership group right now that have a few years or term left on their deals. I think those guys are in play. And I think that's the reality that you're in. I think they have to make a decision if Hofer can take the next step and be a number 1. I think that decision is real. And I think that they're weighing that on how much they can get and how quickly they can improve this group as a retool. And if they did move on from Jordan Binnington, tough decisions to make. But I think that those are all things happening together. And I really do think that this team is going to change drastically next year. That's one thing I think is going to happen.
Yeah, listen. So you think Robert Thomas is a number 1? I mean, people look at it and they say he's not a. Listen, just because you're not, whatever Connor McDavid, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't mean that you're not a number 1, right? I mean, there's only so many of those guys, so you may not be the elite of the elite of the elite number 1s. But he's a guy who can certainly, he's proven he can play against the other team's number 1 centers and still come out on the plus side and produce. And he can make others around him better. It hasn't necessarily gone his way this year. But I think you're right. Once you move on from a guy like him, because I'm hearing this, he's not a number 1. Okay.
Well, that's ridiculous. I think what you have to do, in my opinion, is if you think he's not, there's lots of teams having a tremendous amount of success with guys way less skilled and as good as Robert Thomas. Now, you have to insulate those guys. Like if Robert Thomas is the 1, he's the 1A, you got to get a 1B. You can't then go to a 2B. Like, you know what I mean? The drop off can't be, you know what I mean? Like if you have a high end, top 10, top 5 first center, then your second guy can be a low end number 2, right? You know what I'm saying? So if the point is that then the argument is, to me, they're really, by that comparison, there really aren't 32 number 1 centermen. Well, yeah, there are. Every team has to have one. So to me, maybe you put the top 15 guys in a different stratosphere, or the top 10 guys in a different stratosphere. It still means to me that Robert Thomas is a number 1 on at least 20 teams.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's
he's not surrounded by elite goal scorers either. I mean, he still makes plays, and guys haven't finished when he does create playmaking opportunity. With his playmaking, creates scoring opportunities. Like, I mean, he hasn't played at the level we've seen. We know his high, right?
Yeah.
We saw it last year. He led the league in scoring in the last 25 games of the season. He was unbelievable down the stretch last season. He hasn't reached that level this year.
Yeah, I'm
really get back there.
I'm really disappointed for him. I haven't talked to him about this, but I think coming into the season, he worked his tail off to get himself ready with his eye on making Team Canada. I think he was right there in the mix between him, Scheifele, Suzuki. Like, he was right there with those 4 guys. Celebrini wasn't even in the mix at that point.
Right.
And I think the way the season went had to weigh heavily on him personally. That, he's a proud Canadian. Massively disappointing for him. His GM with his club is also the GM. There's a really good opportunity there for him to make that team. And I think that just emotionally, I think you're seeing some of that in his game. I think that's normal. It's human. I think you're going to get the best version of him next year. And to me, like, I just don't think you move on from him. I think that he's an integral part of the group. Great person, great teammate. But I do think it's time to retool almost everything else. and everything else should be in play. And I just hope they make that decision collaboratively because, you know, those are hard decisions. But
Yeah.
I do think there's a real opportunity, Andy, though, to do that because there's a
Yeah.
lot of unhappy teams out there. And when you have unhappy teams, they're going to move on from guys you wouldn't believe that they'd move on from. And you combine that with the cap going up, you're going to be able to take on salary and make more hockey trades and kind of change the dynamic of your team very quickly.
Yeah. And Jordan Binnington, and listen, to get back to Joel Hofer, they do believe listen, this guy has proven it already in a short amount of time. He's never had to take the ball and go and roll with it without Jordan Binnington there, where he's had to put the team on his back and play meaningful games down the stretch and into the playoffs. I get all that. But internally, they believe this guy's going to be a star. And I do too. Jamal, I think this guy has, the capability of being in the Vezina Trophy conversation. I think he's that good down the road throughout the course of his career. He's going to be having a Canadian jersey on the next time they go to the Olympics 4 years from now.
Well,
Yeah,
if that's the case, and there's certainly teams that believe Jordan can get back to form, then
Well, here's my question for you. Here's my question. Here's the question. So how would you look at it if you're another team? Because I think if you're a contending team, those are the teams that would be interested in bringing Jordan Binnington on board, right? We're a team that we believe that he could help us get over the hump or certainly, make a run.
Yeah.
But is it a risky play if he's not able to build his game between now and the Olympics and he doesn't go to the Olympics and doesn't play well in the Olympics, doesn't have a great Olympics or a very good Olympics? Say he goes there and he struggles. How do teams look at it then? I mean, is it too risky? He's got a year left on his contract next year, $6 million. Is that the play that you make and just keep your fingers crossed and hope that he can flip a switch and be the Jordan Binnington that we've seen throughout the course of his career?
That's a great point. I think that he's going to have to go and play well at the Olympics. I think that if he doesn't go and play well at the Olympics, I think he will. I think if he doesn't do that, it makes it difficult to move him because you'll still be able to move him, but you're not going to be what's the point of moving him if you're not going to get the value you would get him if it was last year right after. Like, to me, you compare it to what was his value, and they'll have it. They'll have all that information. I think they'll keep logs of each guy's value on a curve. They'll have their value, I'm sure, analytically of that's what they have to keep track of that. What was their value? Because they're like stock, right? They're players, but they're stock. So what was his value after the Four Nations? And how close is he after the Olympics to that value? That will determine, is it a good time for us to make that move based on what the market's telling us? I think that, it's hard. Like, at the end of the day, he's a Stanley Cup champion. He's the winningest goaltender in the history of the franchise. It's hard to make those types of decisions, right? It's really hard. But I think if you believe that the organization believes that Hofer is a true number one, then that is the right decision, right? Like, it sounds terrible. It doesn't mean you don't love the person, love the player, think he's going to get back to form, and he's obviously one of the top goalies in the entire league. But if you've got to have a time horizon. The time horizon has changed. The time horizon you thought after last year was 2 years, 3 years. Now it's become 5 or 6, right? So now if you play out who's going to be here in 5 or 6 years when we're good again, or maybe it's 4 or 5, but it's going to be a few years away.
Mm-hmm.
What does that team look like, and how do we change the dynamic of this group? I mean, they have to be thinking about those things.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And again, I think you're right. I don't think you just get rid of Jordan Binnington and not get back the return that you think that you can get, because you could always be a little patient with that. There's not a goalie that's down in the minors right now that's knocking at the door that has to get up here. So there's a spot for Jordan Binnington. You just want to, I think you got to be patient. You got to wait for him to rediscover his game. And not that he's completely lost it either, because it's not all his fault. They just haven't defended well in front of him either. But the way Hofer's playing, he's just playing on a completely different level right now, and he's feeling it, and he's in that zone,
Well, Andy, the truth is this could happen in December of next year.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wait till he's back to playing to form. Like, you can't move him when tomorrow, because his play isn't where he wants it to be. It has to be when he gets back up to where everyone likes to see what he's like. Like, that's what he is. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can't. You keep him. If he doesn't get back to that form, you keep him. He's only $6 million is not a lot. Like, you've got to
Yeah.
keep him until he regains his form next year. Like,
Yeah.
that to me is, you cannot move him unless you find a team that's like believes in him like you do, because we all believe he's going to get back to form. There's going to be 3 or 4 teams out there that believe that, and they maybe
yeah.
are willing to pay that value that was there after the 4 Nations.
Yeah. But you can't say, hey, we're going to go out and get a $6 million goaltender to take the ball for the rest of the season and into the playoffs who's not performing at a high level right now, and just hope and assume that he's going to be able to flip the switch. Maybe you would, you know, I mean, who knows? I guess we'll find out very, very soon.
Well, Pittsburgh
and
Pittsburgh and Edmonton did that, right? I don't think
Yeah.
either goalie was playing well at the time. They just
no
the organizations believed in each of them and thought, you know what, they just need a new fresh look and
change the scenery. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just saw Tristan Jarry the other day, although he didn't play in the game, but you know, he's been obviously really good. You look at the way Edmonton has responded since they'd made that trade, it's been pretty positive.
Yeah.
Last thing for you, the Blues can't score goals, Jamal. I mean, they're last in the league in goal scoring. Like, is it simply that they don't have players who can put the puck in the net, or can there be a bigger issue here?
Well, it's a combination of things. It's like, are you coming out of the zone cleanly? How much time are you spending in the defensive zone? Like, how are you creating off of the rush? And if they're, you know, Monty wants them to play more of a possession game and a grinding type of game, like, do they have the guys that want to play and can play that type of game? And that's a challenge. Are they getting to the inside? Are they willing to get into the inside? Are they doing those things that you have to score goals? I think that it's like anything with confidence in the team. When an individual doesn't have confidence and they go through a slump, you just never, like, what are the likelihood? I think they had, how many players did they have last year that had 15 goals? They had a lot. I think it was 9. When you have so many guys now that are having down years at the same time, I think it's an anomaly. I don't think it's, I think it's unfortunate. I think everything kind of, it started from the goal. You start playing a little bit more nervous. Both goaltenders struggled to start the season.
Yeah.
Defensively, you start to question how much you're giving up. You really can't truly evaluate what you're giving up because the goaltending hasn't been good. Now, offensively, you're afraid to take chances because you're worried about giving up opportunities. I think it all stems from that. And when you're not playing on your toes, I mean, I had to play a very safe game, very simple game, but that's not the game today. These offensive gifted players have to take chances. They're going to turn it over 5 times. That's how it works.
Oh. All right. Good stuff from Jamal Mayers. We got to get out of here. Morning skate, baby. Who brought you to Hockey Sense today?
Well, we got Bartolino's. They got 5 restaurants: Bartolino's South, Bartolino's Austria, Chris's Pancake and Dining, Chris's at the Docket, and my favorite, Bartolino's Twin Oaks. They forge many lasting relationships with their customers. Their family motto: cook good food, serve plenty. 50+ years in business. Only 2 places to dine: at home or at one of Bartolino's family of restaurants.
I love it. Hey, listen, Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, if you went there in the last couple of weeks, you're going to be happy with all the snow coming.
Oh, buddy, you better get in today. Like, they will get you right away. They'll take care of you. Doesn't matter what kind of tire you want. They won't take advantage of you. If you tell them what your budget is, they'll stay within that. They'll make sure that you've got your tires aligned, but they take care of your vehicle. Doesn't matter what you drive, a car, light truck, van, SUV, hybrid, EV, doesn't matter. They're experts, not only in tires. They do everything there and take care of you. They've given us oil changes and so forth. And you know what? For all those curbs that your wife hits, they'll come in, they'll take the nail out, they'll fix it, patch it, get it back out. Most of the times we're only like $100 or nothing because you're a customer that's been there several times, Andy, but they take care of you. That's what I love about them. They got over 40 local locations. They're family-owned, great family, great people. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
Okay.
And then we've got
I love it.
Spas and More, bud. They're a local master spas dealer. They got 2 locations, Sunset Hills and Overland Park in Kansas City. Mike Leahy's the owner. His daughter takes care of everything at their facility down at in Sunset Hills, and she does everything right. And you think about this. You got the Chili Goat tubs from Michael Phelps. Can't wait to get mine next year. Angie Hess runs the show down there in Sunset Hills. Spas and More offers a high-quality tub, swim spas, cold tubs, infrared saunas for all people for your health, wellness, and relaxation needs. Turn your backyard oasis of your dreams with a master spas from Spas and More. Spas and More, located at 12957 Gravois Road in Sunset Hills, where we put the
in spa.
Oh yeah.
I know you were chirping my background. You don't like my bed in the background,
Buddy,
the mirror in the background.
It's unprofessional. No one wants to see where you slept last night or what the heck's going on there or in the corner and what you've left on the counter by accident. Like, no one wants to see all that.
No, I know. But this is where my desk is at.
Okay.
Here in the beautiful Ritz-Carlton.
Buy a little cheap easel on Amazon. Okay. Then you could put your iPad on the easel and you could turn your camera to a blank wall because that's all we want to see. We don't want to be focused on your lamp and all the stuff you got over there in your bed that's unmade. You got a roommate? Why do you got 2 beds?
I don't know. This is the never all year long. First time ever I've had 2 beds in my room. So,
Oh,
but I got a lot of room to like put stuff out and like,
that's nice. Where are you?
yeah, no roommate. Dallas, Texas, baby. They're getting crazy snow tonight. We're going to see Jason Robertson and company tonight.
You got to be careful getting. I hope you guys get back safely.
I hope so too, man. And LA is going to be waiting for the Blues. I don't know if LA is going to get out of St. Louis.
Good point.
When do you fly out next?
I leave Tuesday. I'm actually
Okay.
going to do 2 studio nights. This is my next gig. Doing 2 studio nights in San Francisco. So,
Okay, beautiful.
good.
Okay. Thanks for doing this as always, man. Appreciate it. And we'll catch up very, very soon. Next week we'll be in studio, so we'll have the proper look next week. Are you home next Friday?
I'd have to look. Next Friday.
I'll be there regardless. Yep.
I'm not. We're in Florida. We got a tournament in
Okay.
Florida.
Oh, nice.
You guys get to like the 12, 13. There's a really good tournament I got to tell you about. Good time to go in January. Snow's coming and we're heading to Florida.
I know. Well, hopefully you can still join us next week, man. So,
Absolutely, I will.
okay. All right, Jamal. Thanks for doing this as always.
Thank you. See you, bud.
Yep. See you, man. We appreciate Jamal Mayers for joining us here on this edition of Hockey Sense. Great stuff for him, and got into a lot of different Blues things, whatever. We'll pick things back up next week in studio. Get back to a little more normalcy. Been a little bit different being on the road. It's the Blues and the Dallas Stars tonight. They play at home tomorrow against LA. Then they're home for 3 games next week before they head out on the road to play 2 games. 1 in Nashville, 1 back here in Dallas. They play Dallas like 3 times over the next few weeks, and then it's the Olympic break, and we're going to have a little bit of a break, but we'll still have Hockey Sense for you each and every week here on live from the Half Coast Studios. Hockey Sense brought to you by First Community, like we are each and every week here on Hockey Sense at the Half Coast Studios. Members Best Home Loan. I love talking about this because if you're ready to buy a home, you're going to need the home loan. Like, that, right? You're going to need the home loan, but what's the best kind of home loan? That's what people ask themselves all the time. Most people would say they want a 30-year term to keep their payment affordable, plus a great rate, low closing costs. So First Community has that loan. It's called the Members Best Home Loan. It has a rate of 6% for a 30-year term. We're back to 6%. You got to love that. First Community, no fee for the applications, no fee for the processing, closing of your home loan, no fee for that as well. So apply today for our Members Best Home Loan. Terms and conditions apply. So call toll free 888-642-7969. 888-642-7969 and ask about the Members Best Home Loan over at First Community. Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Get that free estimate. Loro's Diamonds, are you popping the question? Get to Loro's Diamonds today and let Mike or Jimmy show you what's next and how you can make your life even more special and make that special someone in your life feel really, really special. Right there in the heart of Ladue, 314-432-8008. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download that app today. Find the location nearest you. Get all the deals that you're looking for right there on the app. That's where all the deals are. You want to save money? You got to download the app. Free delivery if you live within 10 miles of a Dirt Cheap location just by using the promo code Blues. Hackett Security. Love our friends Mike Hackett and company over there at Hackett Security. Make sure you're secure. I know I'm always secure even when I'm not there, thanks to our friends over there with Hackett Security. Give them a call today. Get yourself set up with a in-home security system. If you're a commercial owner, you got a commercial building, get that secure as well. 314-432-4200. Get those cameras set up. Get that alarm system set up. 314-432-4200. And then Kirkwood Fence. Get a fence expert out to your house today to survey your area, put a nice fence up, Get yourself set up. 314-966-3333. 314-966-3333 for Kirkwood Fence. Chain link fence, wood fence, privacy fence, pool fences, whatever it is you're looking for. Get set up with Kirkwood Fence. All right, for Aiden, for Jamal Mayers, I'm Andy Strickland, live from Dallas. We're back in studio next week. Have a great weekend, St. Louis. Stay warm. Be safe on the roads. We'll talk to you again next Friday. Adios.